Stephanie, thanks for joining us. How important is this settlement for First Nations across the country that have had to deal with unclean drinking water for a number of years?
It's very important. After decades of continued drinking water advisories, despite numerous promises from the federal government to resolve them, First Nations will finally have both compensation for their past harms and moving forward. The settlement will provide compensation for past harms such as health impacts, cultural degradation, and inconvenience. It will also be structured to provide forward-looking relief. It will guarantee class members a clean water source, whether it's through improved infrastructure, such as for Curve Lake First Nation, who wishes for their community to have a new water treatment plant, or a new water source, such as Tatasqueyak Cree Nation, who wishes for their community to draw their water from Ashian Lake. Impacted First Nations will finally have access to the quality and quantity of clean drinking water comparable to non-Indigenous communities, something that they have been advocating for decades.
So is there a new deadline for when boil water advisories will be lifted in these communities with this agreement?
So the agreement in principle contains a renewed commitment to Canada's action plan for ending long-term drinking water advisories. The commitment will be a term of the settlement which will ensure that it's enforceable. Precise mechanism of enforcement will be resolved in the settlement agreement. As discussed, the focus of the agreement is broader than long-term drinking water advisories, which represent an extreme situation in which regular access to clean water is interrupted for more than 1 year. The aim of this is to ensure that class members will have the kind of regular access to drinking water in their homes that most Canadians take for granted, and that they do not lurch from one crisis to another. In order to achieve this, appropriate solutions will need to be identified and properly implemented. So while I cannot provide an exact date at this time, I can say that the agreement has brought the parties to the table together and will bring resolution far faster than I expect it would otherwise be reached. And it will ensure that that commitment is met.
And Stephanie, along with the money going to those affected by poor water quality, what other supports are in the agreement that are going to help these First Nations?
Canada will pay $1.5 billion in compensation for individuals deprived of clean drinking water. That is for cultural, health, and other impacts. There will also be a $400 million First Nation Economic and Cultural Restoration Fund created. There will also be modernization of Canada's First Nations drinking water legislation. There will also be the creation of a First Nations Advisory Committee on safe drinking water, and there will be supports for First Nations to develop their own safe drinking water bylaws and initiatives, to name a few things.
All right, Stephanie, we're going to have to end it there. I want to thank you for taking a few minutes to speak with us today.
Thanks so much.